All right, in this episode, we talk about Olympic lifting for the pitcher and how this guy integrated it into a big league season. All right, Brent Porcio, Captain America, better known as David Aardsma.
What's going on?
Or the hardest working man in baseball here at the @TopVelocity #Pitch and Tips show, where we go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and @TopVelocity #Pitch and Tips. You ask your question, anything on, we do here at Top Velocity, anything on pitching, anything for David Aardsma. If you want to go and check out and tweet to David Aardsma, it's at Twitter,
DA.
or at the DA
53. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook.
So find him, tweet him up, ask him a question, we'll answer it on the show. If he's not here, I'll just wear my David Aardsma suit and I'll act like David Aardsma.
We had one made.
All right, so the question for the day is...
Nate Butler asks, how many times per week should we be doing the cleans? I'm a guy that would every day if I could. Thanks.
All right, Nate, I like you a lot because I love the cleans and I would do them every day if I could. But here's the problem, and I wanted David in on this just because not many big leaguers probably do power cleans. He'll tell you kind of the reality on that, and he'll talk about how it worked for him and how, and maybe in some cases he didn't think it was going to work for him, and I think that's going to be huge. But I just want to say real quick that of course it's not something we want to do every day, because if we do the power cleans, of course it really helps us make the kinetic chain efficient, because it's a multi-joint movement, you're using the total body and you're moving power up the chain, and it really makes it efficient. That's one huge benefit to it. It's called enhancing athletic performance or dynamic athletic performance. But also too, it's there to maximize power, and you're not going to maximize power just completely shutting down the central nervous system every day. So you have to use what I believe is best to use as a periodization model. You build out micro and macro cycles, and you can use block training, pendulum training. It's a science of how to do this. And to tell you the truth, if you're willing to learn it, follow the Olympians. The Olympic lifters do it the best because they take their power to weight ratios well above what we do in baseball, or what we'll need to do in baseball. We just want to get a little bit of it, if we can, to benefit us in our skills and our power skills like throwing, pitching, hitting, running. But I wanted to bring David in because it's been something new to his career, and he's liked the effects it's had on his career. So I want him to talk about how many times do we use it in the off season, and when you started using it, what was kind of the learning curve you had to go through, and then when did you start getting or feeling the benefits of it? What kind of benefits did you feel?
I mean, the big thing Brent knows really how to utilize it in the off season, how to build your strength, how to build your power through using the cleans. And so that's something that I'm learning from him, but something we had a lot of discussions about, especially last off season. Going into spring training, going into a professional season, especially because he's never really dealt with a professional season and the grind of every single day, and utilizing these lifts to try to maintain your strength, maintain your explosion, your power. And so that was something we discussed. We had a lot of talks about and trying to figure out what's the best routine. How do we build it into it? You know, if you're only playing on the weekends, like most high schools do or colleges do, it's really not that big of a deal, because you can kill it in the middle of the week, have a couple days to recover, and then play your games, and all your motor units are fine. Your central nervous system is back on it, and you're actually using that strength, and it's awesome. So at that age, use it. Go out there and kill it during the middle of the week when you can. So every weekend you're bigger, stronger, faster than you were the week before. Professional season, totally different world. Out there, you're blowing your motor units, you're blowing your central nervous system just playing. Just being on the field is blowing it out. It's not, you don't really get to recover. Major League Baseball season is harder than any other sport because of that lack of recovery. You're playing for 7 months every single day. More for the big leagues, and more for these guys playing in the playoffs. They're playing for 8.5, 9 months. So what we did through a little trial and error and through actually being probably a little cautious at first, and then probably a little too aggressive, and then backing off a little bit and finding that medium ground, was our first discussion is how do we do the clean, how do we do the lifts and not fry it out? That was our biggest problem.
And this is all in season, right? So we're talking in season.
In season. And so we started by doing the clean, trying to find what's the right percentage. We kind of agreed, Brent, you don't want to be able to get up to 85%, right?
Yeah, we
75 to 85.
We would try to say in a power threshold. Studies show anything above 80 really forces us to maximize power production. And we knew we needed to do it post-game. It's something you obviously didn't want to do before the game. But the hardest thing for David was he needed to find the window when he knew he had at least a couple of days to hit an 80-90% threshold with his cleans, and that was your challenge. And I had to leave totally up to David. And like you said, as much as I have an in-season program for 3X training and how to build it up, it really doesn't gear for a relief pitcher in Major League Baseball, because the demands of pitching are for him is unbelievable. I mean, what's the longest you threw day to day in a game?
What do you mean the longest?
I mean, the longest stretch. You went a 6-game
stretch? Yeah, I mean, there's times where I'm going 6 games where I'm either warming up or I'm pitching. I mean, there's 6 games, and then I might have had that 7th day off, but then I threw another 5 days in a row where I'm at very least warming up, if not getting in the game. So how do you go? That's 12 days of frying yourself and having to put yourself on the field. My biggest thing is I want to make sure I'm 100% the second I have that ball in my hand. I don't want to be fried. I don't want to be, down. I don't want to feel like I don't have that little extra oomph. So I want to make sure I'm ready. So for me, I work out after games. That's a big thing for me. I can't work out before games and expect myself on that 15th or 20th pitch be ready to go, because you're just basic reality. You're not, because you're doing 2-a-days at that point. So we focus on doing post-game lifts, finding the times where, say, I threw 2 days in a row. Most likely, I'm going to have that 3rd day off. So finding that's when I'm already to a point where I might have a day off. That's when we try to get a lift in.
Because you need at least a day for recovery if you're going to go 80%.
Yeah.
So you found too, when you had less days of pitching, you could go in a little higher percentage.
Absolutely.
Knowing you had a day at least, and if you had been pitching a lot, you probably didn't go at as high of a percentage.
The key with us was being really smart about knowing your body. If you're already worn down from your pitching, from the running, from normal day-to-day baseball activity, don't go out there and fry yourself killing it and be like, yeah, I got a great workout in, and the next day you're even worse. So it's being smart, listen to your body, try to pick, if I'm going to do it during, when I got 2 games in a row, during a day game, going into a night game the next day, so I've got a full 24 hours to recover. Maybe I'm not hitting the highest percentage, but if I got a day off, or if I know I have a day off coming up, then it's, hey, let's get it. Let's get a good kill in. Let's destroy this, clean. But it was a matter of finding that timing. For sure, I'd have to have at least 2 days in between lifts. Try to find those off days. But I think the biggest advantage for me was actually doing it all year. I hadn't lifted all year and stuck with it, especially lower body, and doing lifts like this is my first year. And it's walking in here first day, I'm at a much different point than I was last year. I'm much stronger, much more ready to go. I'm not at my maxes, but I'm so close that it's like, man, we don't even feel like we missed a beat.
Right, and I think initially David coming in last off season was a big learning curve, and that's anyone that goes into the Olympic lifts. It's going to take a couple of months just to get good at the technique, maybe more if you have some mobility restrictions. David does. He's had Tommy John surgery, which kind of gives you a little mobility restriction on the catch, and we'll talk more about that. But he needed that to kind of get the technique down, which we're still trying to get down. You're always still trying to get down, but he got it enough till we could start building his gains through that periodization model. And then the next 2 months, we built up and we got 215. I think you said, was I completely wrong? I feel like you said going into the season, you got to a place where you thought you were close to 250 at least.
I was doing high. I was doing polls.
This is what happened.
Polls with 250, but I was for sure landing 215. The first time I've ever done it. And
right.
We started out 120 pounds,
where you could barely.
And
do
that was battle.
Right. So, but then he went into the season. Once season started, it was that grind of when he got the moment to put in the work and had the time to recover, he put it in, and he did it pretty much through the season, which is really unbelievable, because I had a hard time doing that just in indie ball, because the grind is so fatiguing to keep that mentality. But the great thing about his career, about last year's season, is some of his hardest throwing games were your last games of the year. So talk about, did you feel like that was key into that success in your ball speed? Do you feel like it helped?
I felt like it definitely maintained, it definitely helped. And towards the end, I was really doing the torsion drives, and I was really doing the work on the technique. But I noticed that it was August, late August, getting in time for most players are already done with their season. I was actually making gains. I was getting better when you could see some guys, a lot of guys are starting to fall apart, starting to break down. I was feeling better. I was feeling stronger. My energy levels were outstanding. I was having other pitchers telling me they can't believe that I'm still going at that age and that energy. And so it was, and I put it all into doing this and sticking with it. If you're in college, and you got a Tuesday night game, Wednesday morning, you don't get it, because then you got 2 days. You're going to be able to recover.
Yeah, how much easier would this been for you if you were in college?
Man, it would have been amazing if I would have actually stuck with stuff like this. Now, I did do legs, but I did the classic leg press. I did quads, and you're just sitting on the machine going like this the whole time, or hammy machine, that's it. There's my leg day. I didn't find something that actually used my central nervous system, blew it out, and made me explode and get better constantly. So stick with it throughout the season, trust it, and I don't know, to keep talking about it, right at the end of spring training, I had 5 days before the season started, I hit my maxes on everything that day. I hit my back squat max, I hit my clean max. That's when I landed at 215, which was, I never landed before, and I landed it that day because I knew I had 5 days off. So take advantage of those days, take advantage of those times you can do it, and stick with it, because you'll be at the next off season, when you have that time to really make those improvements, you're already at that spot. Instead of taking the season off, oh, I'm good, I'm a little tired, but then it becomes an excuse. So when you keep coming back to this bottom point, you always get back up to that PR. Next off season, you're back there, you're coming back up. You're always just maintaining. Maybe you're going to go down during the season, but that next off season you're here, so you can come up even higher.
Awesome. So that's great. We're lucky to have someone like David. I'm lucky to have someone like David who is able to take an Olympic-based approach, which is going to be the best on maximizing power and helping us keep our velocities up, and he took it through the grind of a major league season, which is just awesome to know that it's something that it can even work in that much of a labor-intense environment. For example, if you're in college, you're in high school, you got it made compared to what he did. He was able to put it into the hardest environment, which is a major league pitcher throwing almost every day, and use it to keep his power up and keep his energy up and keep him excelling into his season, as opposed to declining into the end of the season. So if you have a question for David, go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Top Velocity or at the DA53. Ask your question, and we're going to answer on the show. And if you want to learn more about our programs and how to periodize Olympic training and how to take it into a preseason, in season, to where you're not just doing it every day, because that's not the best way to do it, and also learn the real technique behind it, go to Top Velocity and check out our programs, check out our camps. And anything else? Pretty cool. All right,
keep with it, man, because it's truly the road. It'll get you there.
Exactly. It takes an average athlete and it makes you better. Right.
Absolutely.
All right. See you on the next show.
Boys.